So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here today. For the one who enjoyed the setup and the one who just joined now. So in one line or in one sentence or two, what is the pitch of this webinar today? So it's basically a journey, a migration from AEM on-premise to AEM Cloud. And today, the speakers will introduce themselves in a few seconds, but I'm with Simon Stucki from Gebäudeversicherung Bern. We will call it GVB or GVB later on. It's one of our customers. And also Michael Kleger, project manager at One Inside. These two guys, basically, they work together for several months on this migration. So what you will learn today is basically what are the steps to migrate, but also what happened before the migration. Simon will tell you why GVB decided to migrate, how he was able to sell that internally to his management. So I think it's quite interesting for you guys. And also afterwards, now I think we have 2 or 3 months of feedback. Simon can also tell you yes, what is the outcome of this migration? If there is any, let's say, issues, or better, we won't speak about issue, but more about advantage of moving to the cloud. About myself, my name is Samuel Schmitt. I'm head of sales and marketing at One Inside. If you don't know us yet, One Inside, we are a Swiss company from Lichtal. We also have an office in Bern. We are mainly an Adobe partner, AEM experts. We also provide other services on or with the Adobe Experience Cloud, like Campaign, Target, Analytics, and also other services like we can do mobile development, UX UI. We can help you with orchestration of your campaign, and finally, for the, let's say, the sales pitch, we are part of a group called VAS. Based in Madrid, and thanks to the group, we can also offer additional services to our customers. But today, the goal is to speak about our clients, about this case study. And I will start. So I will start my first question. So I prepare a lot of questions, guys, and don't hesitate. Also, I mean, there is a chat. You know how it works. Ask your question during this presentation. There is no slide. There is just question and answer. So don't hesitate to drop your question in the chat. You can interrupt us, or we will answer them at the end. And first, I would like to start with you, Simon. So first, thanks for being here. And maybe you can briefly introduce yourself, explain to the audience who is Gebäudeversicherung Bern, what do you do, and also what is the role of the digital presence for you?
Okay, thanks, Sam, for having me. And hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm a product owner at GVB, and I've been working for GVB for 8 years now. And I'm currently responsible for all the web services, including the customer portal, My GVB, and of course, all the AEM platform. Maybe some words about the Gebäudeversicherung Bern or the GVB. So the Gebäudeversicherung Bern or the GVB group consists of 4 different companies. So you have like the main company with the main objective to ensure that every building in the canton of Bern is insured against natural and fire damage. So we have like a legal mandate from the canton of Bern, and the basic coverage for basic house insurance is mandatory in the canton of Bern. Then we have the GVB private company, which provides additional insurances for all the damages that are not covered in the mandatory part, such as special water damages or earthquake damages, or maybe damages at technical installation and stuff. Then we have the GVB services, and we provide additional services for homeowners, such as the advice platform houseinfo.ch, for example, with different types of topics around the house. So from finance to legal to garden, everything you can ask for. Then we provide also the weather app Wetter Alarm. This is also an additional service related to our prevention program. Of course, the more people use the app, the less damages it will cause. And then last but not least, there's the Safety AG, which is a consultant company for planning measurements for fire protection, but also precautions for natural damages. So that's like the GVB group in a nutshell. And yeah, as you can hear, it's 4 different companies, lots of different services, and also business units. And therefore, it's very, very important for us to have a strong digital presence. And our main goal is to really provide the right information at the right time to the right customers. And this also like on a cross-domain basis. So not only for GVB.ch, for instance, but also from Hausinfo, then over to GVB Privatversicherungen.ch, for example.
Yeah, I think this is quite interesting as well. Maybe to repeat, you have different websites. One is called Hausinfo. I think it has about 2 million visitors per year, something like this. It's correct?
Yes.
Yes, and so you can, of course, tell me if I'm wrong, but I guess you have different websites, Hausinfo, Wetter Alarm, and so on, and you have your private insurance website where you basically try to generate traffic with this informational website and redirect them to the insurance website. Is it your strategy, right, Simon?
Yeah, exactly. Because as you said, it's like a quite reasonable reach that we have with the hausinfo.ch, and it's also well positioned on Google. So a lot of SEO activities. So it's it's the first entry point for lots of different kinds of customer journeys. And as you said, the main goal is like to relate to our other services and link the people to the right services or insurances.
Yes. I mean, the goal is not to speak about your marketing strategy here, but I think it's important for people in the room today to understand that, because I guess other people here have several websites, maybe running on AEM and also following a similar approach, attracting customers and trying to convert them later on in the funnel on a different website. So let's speak about the topic, which is moving to AEM Cloud. So you were on AEM on-premise, and what was the main trigger for your company to move to the cloud? What you wanted to achieve, basically?
Sure. So actually, I mean, we already knew from early on that, at one day, the on-prem solution is from Adobe is going to be end of life. We don't know when, it's about time, but we knew that this will come up. And so the question for us was not, are we going to the cloud or are we moving to the cloud, but when are we moving to the cloud? So that was the main question. And this question, circled around for quite a bit. And then last year, we sat together with our partners from Adobe, but also from One Insight, and discussed the options. And of course, one of the first things I wanted to know was like, okay, how are the cost structures basically in the cloud? So I mean, let's be honest. I mean, a CMS has in general it's pretty rare that this has like a direct impact on the user's behavior. So the user doesn't really care about what CMS or what environment we have. So it was the main question. The first question was about how about the cost. And as we got the first offer, I was quite impressed. So first I thought, okay, something is wrong here, but it was like it was really it. I mean, we could cut the costs in half, basically. Okay. So if you take the license fees and also the cost for maintenance and support together, it was half the cost. So yeah, therefore we were like, okay, we knew the whole migration project is going to be quite a project. It's going to be an invest up front, but we also knew that the earlier we tackle this move, the more money we will save at the end of the day. So that was actually the main trigger for us to, let's say, accelerate the decision also to finally end up with the move.
Saving costs was the main trigger for you.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And also, I mean, well, about the Adobe license, I'm not from Adobe, by the way, as you can imagine. I'm from one inside, but I understand that also, so for the audience, between AEM on-premise and AEM Cloud, there is a difference in the license model or the pricing model. I think previously it was based on the server that you needed to run your instance on-premise, and now it's based on the API call and on the request, basically, to your website. So this is also why I guess you can maybe save money. And also, technically speaking, AEM Cloud, I guess, offer also additional advantage. Like it can scale automatically. You don't need to update anymore. So there is a lot of, let's say, it's maybe easier as well to operate. And this maybe something also, Simon, that was important for you, the operation side of the tool.
Yeah, as we dug or as we were digging deeper into the solution and stuff, of course, and as we also when we also spoke to the developers, we figured out that also from a development point of view, it was there's some great advantages. So everything is standardized. You have like lots of features. You have a streamlined deployment pipeline. You're way more flexible to go live with new features, and also you have code checks and stuff. And yeah, and finally, also from a security perspective, I think there is some great advantages. So
yeah, for sure.
So it's not only the costs, of course, but
yeah. It's also, I think, when we prepared this webinar, you also mentioned about the ROI of 3 years. Is it correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So after 3 years, it will pay off.
So license costs reduced, plus, okay, you have an investment now, or you had an investment with the project, migration project, but over 3 years, you basically start to save money, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So I guess my next question, in fact, is obvious, but I will ask you, how did you manage to sell that internally? I guess, yeah. How did you prepare the business case? Basically, it was mainly on the costs, I assume, or?
Yeah, that's true. Of course, I mean that was the main trigger, like I said, and also with the security advantages and with more flexibility in the deployment process, and just simply the fact that one day we will have to do this move, and now we would have the capacity to do it. So we had like a very strong value propositions and we didn't really have to promote this internally. So it was almost a little bit a no-brainer for us at the end of the day. Yeah.
But it's clear that, I discussed with some of our customers, well, not yet in the cloud, and often the issue is that you don't see a lot of value, because at the end you move, the website stays the same. Nothing changed really for the end customer, and also for the management. The management, they don't see any change. So I was just wondering, what did you do the last few months? But yeah, I guess saving costs, I assume that the management can understand this argument, and as well operation that is easier. Again, here you save cost indirectly, but you save cost if you can save on the operation. And also being up to date with the latest features. I guess, I don't want to go too much in detail of AEM Cloud, but it's clearly one of the top and maybe the best cloud CMS right now, because it's a real software as a service. It's not just a platform that is hosted by a third-party vendor. It's really managed by Adobe, and I think our team are really happy as well to develop with this platform. Just one question also. I mean, what you often understand is that IT is a bit concerned by this move. did you face any, let's say, challenge from your IT department at GVB, or it was fine for them to move?
It also worked out pretty smoothly. Of course, we have a relatively good connection to our IT department overall, and we also discussed the move, of course, in a architecture board, it's called internally. But as we've had lots of experience with Adobe already, and also with other cloud projects. I mean, we use different cloud services, so the cloud topic isn't that new anymore, and so it was also not so hard to convince the people from the IT. So they were like, okay, that's exactly what you have to do, and they agreed that the earlier the better.
But this is also something we discussed when we prepared the webinar the other day. I mean, it's really interesting that sometimes companies are reluctant to move their CMS, their website, which is basically public pages, to a cloud, but they have their CRM with client information, often in SAP or Salesforce. They have their marketing automation in a cloud, often in Adobe Campaign or Salesforce. So it's really strange that for clients' information, it's fine to be in the cloud, but for web pages that are public, it's not fine. So it's a little message to people watching us. Don't be afraid regarding security. I mean, it's basically web content that is anyway public. So great. So if I can summarize, so the project started, and we'll speak very soon with Mike, and I will let you introduce yourself, Mike, but you don't speak so that much so far, but it's soon your turn. So we started the project, I think, in September, but so for you, the preparation was, let's say, between March to September, or how long did you take to prepare that internally? Simon.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was to Mike. Let's say we started the discussions with you guys and also with Adobe early on in 2023, maybe late 22, and we received an offer. I already talked about this, and then we met pretty early on. We met together with also some specialists from your side, so very experienced engineers. And so my main concern was about the migration itself. So how is this project going to look? How long will the downtime take when we finally switch?
Yeah.
We were talking about 15 different websites, so it's not just one website that we have to switch.
Yes.
To the cloud. So and then we had a couple of meetings, discussed it, and then finally Mike came up with a very solid plan. I would say it was like quite straightforward from there.
And it's a perfect transition, Simon. We will speak about the plan now. And Mike, I already introduced yourself, but maybe you want to say a few words about you and what is your role in our company?
Of course, thank you, and hello from my side as well. I'm a project manager at One Insight, and for GVB. I'm also assisting with the MarTech stack, or project management for that stack as well. And for the cloud migration, I was the project manager for the whole process. Let's say that.
And now let's speak about the steps. Maybe you can tell us a bit, how once the decision was made, how everything started, how to initiate such a project, and maybe you can highlight some of the steps. I will share a little image while you speak, so don't be afraid, Mike. But maybe you can start to explain, the first steps.
Great. Well, the first step is always finding out what we're dealing with. So having a look at the different tech stack of everything, having a look at the code, making sure that how this code can transfer into the cloud. The code itself, the structure on-prem and in the cloud is generally very different. And of course, we have to see what the differences are and change this to fit. And for this, we always do a first estimation. We also check for the different extensions that need to be migrated. A good example is for Wetter Alarm, the webcams, to make sure that those can be accessible in the cloud as well. And weather data needs to be added. And of course, then we need to find out how much time is needed for every aspect of the migration. Of course, this is an initial assessment or estimation, and it may vary a little bit, but I want to see we got pretty close to almost exactly that time that we wanted to use. So to sum up, we always do an initial investigation to see what is needed and where we're at, and then we base our next steps off that. And yeah, I want to say, given that we started on October 1st with the assessment 2 weeks before that and finished on December 20th, we got exactly what we wanted out of our planning.
Great. But so if you understand properly this planning, so the first step is to understand, of course, your current installation, preparing the environment for the cloud. And then it's basically, if I understand, is that you have to basically prepare the on-premise code to be ready for the cloud. Is correct?
Yes. We had to, basically the cloud structure of the code is slightly different to what we were using on-prem. This is because the cloud has a very specific structure that is needed. The big challenge, of course, here was, to answer Michi Grob's question, to make sure that the two different environments were linked or mirrored in a way that both environments could be used. Of course, the cloud environment is the one we use in the future, but at the present, we're still using the local environment on-prem.
Yeah, this is really important, I think. Also, I mean, we don't want to be too technical because there is also some, I think, business people in this audience. But I think we wanted to also be able to keep the productive environment operational during the migration. So we had to maintain these two, let's say, streamline, right, Mike?
Yeah, we had to do a code freeze early on to facilitate the code transfer into the cloud. But after that, it was good for not only for us, but also for GVB, that we can maintain both environments at the same time to continue operations on the on-prem environment, to do some releases while also working on the cloud migration. Of course, this came with quite a few challenges. Shout out to the dev team that had to deal with some of these challenges, but of course they were overcome quite heartily. And this was also one of the biggest challenges. I want to just point this out. Keeping both environments up and mirrored while doing development at the same time was a challenge, but as we can see, it's doable.
Yeah, and it's also just to answer the few questions from the chat. So what is the IAM version on premise before migration? I think it was the 6.5, right? We were on the latest, or almost.
Yes, I think one of the latest, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because for sure, if you're on 6.3 or 6. I don't know what, you need first to maybe update to the latest 6.5 and then prepare the migration, obviously. So it can be a bit longer than the 3 months we have done. And the question for Milan, when is better for the code to be refined before migration or after? Obviously, we did before the migration. So we, let's say, adapted the code to be ready for the cloud. And as well, we did some refactoring also at the same time. So we used this opportunity to refactor our code and as well to improve some part of the code. So it's also the right time to do some, let's say, spring cleanup. And this is what we have done. And also, I really want to stress that what Mike explained is that basically you can, why we have two streams in parallel is to be able that your on-premise website stay alive as much as possible. And we aim to reduce the freeze period, right? So it's really the goal is that, and it was, by the way, I guess, one of also a complex aspect maybe, is having this two, let's say, version running in parallel, but as well Can you tell us a bit about content migration, Mike? I mean, it's also a key aspect of the project. So how this is managed to migrate content?
Of course, I saw earlier in the chat, it was also already linked, the tool that helps with this. So if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see Michi Grob posted a link. That is a tool that can be used. For us, we mirrored once everything was set up in the cloud environment, the code was set up. We also did a content transfer to make sure that we can do the proper testing on the cloud. For us, it is important to make sure that the cloud version is mirrored to the on-prem version. And of course, this means functionally as well. So making sure that the content is there and to see the websites, how they are live in the cloud or as close to is a very big deal. That's the only way you can test. The testing team, of course, very important for this. The initial transfer was done by transferring everything. And then eventually, this is maybe I'm a little bit early with this, but just before going live, we did a content freeze for about a week. I believe it was 8 days, where we then used that time to transfer the rest that was changed during the time of the migration project, to basically find the differences between the original content upload to what was changed to go live.
All right. So this is quite important as well, is that the freeze was only 1 week more or less. So you don't like have the freeze for the content, by the way, not for the feature. So it was only 1 week. And also with the Adobe tool, you can basically do some change and then incrementally add, let's say, the changes later on. I just would like to recap. And by the way, I don't want to make this webinar too technical or too complex in terms of project management. So if you have any question, we can also do a one-to-one session later on with some of you guys. And also I can see there is some technical question, and I think we cannot answer all of them, to be honest, today, because as you can see in this room, there is not a lot of technical people. But I can see Igor in the chat, so he can also give you some answer. But what I suggest is that the question we cannot answer, we will send anyway an email later on, and we can answer this question and send you the answer by email. So just to recap briefly, the steps is that 3 months, and Simon is here to say it's true, right? Simon, we are not lying. So can you say yes?
No, that's true.
Okay, good. He was not forced to say that, by the way. So. So 3 months starting in September. So analyzing, of course, first step, preparing the code for the cloud, preparing the environment, because there is new environment that you need to set up with Adobe Cloud Manager. And then a big chunk, let's say in month 2, is migrating your code to be ready for the cloud, validating all the integration, also with third-party tools, etc., and migrating the content. And finally, is redirecting the domain. So here, I think this is maybe the only moment where you really need to work with your IT department. You go live. There is also a training to be done, not really for the author, because it doesn't change really a lot for them. It's more or less the same backend. So for them, it's no difference. Maybe the change is for your DevOps team or IT team. They need to be, let's say, educated with AEM Cloud and the Cloud Manager, which is basically, I think, the tool to manage all the updates and manage the cloud. And finally, also an important point is that we also kept the on-premise instance in parallel after the go live, just to be sure. In case something go wrong, we still have the on-premise. It's correct, Mike? And nothing went wrong, right?
Well, the on-premise was only till the end of the year. So we did have it for only a very short time afterwards. Of course, here I always recommend, and I am almost, I have to say this to keep Igor happy. This is also a lesson learned. We definitely should and need to keep from the time we migrate on the go live, we need to make a copy from the on-prem, from the on-prem environment, just in case. I think this will be always a good thing to do in the future. And just in case something is wrong or we need any sort of information from the on-prem system, we have that in the future.
Sure. Now that migration is done, speak about improvements very soon with you, Simon. And Simon, maybe you can share some lessons learned from this project. Let's start with you, Mike, because you were speaking. What, from your perspective, as some highlights of this migration?
Well, highlight is definitely the time frame. The time frame was very, we say in German, sportlich, very tight and very interesting, especially because we did the normal development for half the time of the migration as well. So it was it was definitely a challenge, but it was also a good challenge because we managed to pull it off without going over budget and without going over time, especially with the go live date. For me, that's a highlight.
Great. And Simon, anything to share, lesson learned, highlights about this project?
Yeah, like I already mentioned, of course, I had a lot of respect from this migration project. And the question was always, or one of the most important questions for us was like, how long the downtime is going to be, and how long we'll have code freeze, and how long we'll have even content freeze. And yeah, you already answered most of the questions. So it was not a long time. And for us internally, one thing that was very important was to really communicate well with all the stakeholders, especially the authors. I mean, all the campaign and marketing managers and people using the CMS itself. I mean, we also have like several campaigns running, and we have to really time and orchestrate the project well with the launch of those campaigns, and do also some proactive expectation management towards the site owners, as we call them. So that was a very important thing, and I think we managed pretty well to do it. Also, of course, with the help of Mike, who did really a great job as a project manager, and we anytime we knew what's going on, we had regular meetings together where we could share potential issues or risks or whatever. And at the end, as you said, I mean, everything was delivered on time with not much downtime. And maybe one last thing that is very important also, and you'll have to orchestrate the whole DNS switches well with your IT department. So remember the night when we decided to go live, so page after page, this also had to be very well orchestrated between you guys and our IT department, and we did like a little night shift, and then we switched page by page. And gladly it worked out pretty well.
Great. There is one question that I think we can answer easily. How many people worked on the project? Maybe Mike, you can tell us.
Total, there was two front end and 3 back end. However, they did not work on it full time. It was shared tasks between normal development and of course, we also have 2 QA. Let's not forget the most important part. And they didn't all work 100% on the project. It was shared between normal day-to-day activities as well. I want to give a ballpark figure because some weeks it was much higher and some weeks it was much lower. But I think it was about 40% for each person on average.
Okay, interesting. And Michael Grob is making a perfect transition. I think he knows the next question. Simon, do you see any improvement or after the migration?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my expectation was to have lower costs, as I said before. But at the end, after the migration, I figured out that there was way more advantages. So the requirements were more than fulfilled. One thing I noticed pretty early on, I mean, during that night shift when we switched the pages, the first page, when I clicked through it, I figured like the loading time was like way faster than before. So that's a big advantage in the cloud. Another advantage that we figured out a little bit later on is also the time to publication. That bothered us a little bit with the on-prem solution. So if you want to publish a new page, and this took sometimes quite a while. Sometimes it was fast, but sometimes it took quite a while. But with the cloud, in the cloud, it's way faster. So within seconds or maybe a minute, you'll have every site published. And I also, got some good feedbacks also from the developers. Also, I think they, speaking of deployment pipeline, everything like that. Of course, everybody has to get used a little bit to it. Not everything is that obvious in the cloud. You have to figure it out. But as far as I understood, I think it's way better now too, and less fragile as before.
All right, interesting. Maybe also one question from Milan. What was the biggest bottleneck of the migration? Or Simon or Mike, anything to say here?
Oh, I definitely have a few points. Early on in the migration, it's definitely making sure that your on-prem and your cloud environment has the same code. I would not continue until you have made sure that that is the case. And as well, of course, making sure that all the functionalities work from the different components before the go live. It might not be a bottleneck for everyone, but for us, this was essential to make sure that all the components and all the pages are actually displaying and working correctly. So for us, we took this as a bottleneck, and luckily for us, our testing team is very diligent and found everything.
Great. And I'm really glad that Igor, which I think was working on the project, right, is answering in live all the questions and is aligned with you. So this is, thank you, Igor. Great support in the chat, by the way. So we are already speaking for 37 minutes. We are getting close to the end. Maybe what would you recommend other customers to have such tight timeline? I mean, I can maybe let Mike speak about the timeline, but again, the timeline, of course, depends on, let's say, on your current situation, where you are, which version you have. But we are confident that because we did another migration with a similar timeline, and we are planning other migration with similar timeline. So we are confident that this is, let's say, a more or less good timeline to migrate to the cloud. Or maybe Mike, you want to support what I just said?
Yes, I mean, if you're doing with continuous development, definitely I wouldn't go much faster. I think it's really important to make sure that certain aspects are hammered down, such as the testing, such as the environments mirroring the dev environments mirroring each other, making sure that those are hammered down. The rest can be done. I mean, you throw more people at it, and more people can work on it at the same time. It'll go faster, but
yeah, sure.
At some point, it's not worth going the extra speed.
Right. But already 3 months, I think it's quite fast. So, I mean, yeah, it's I think a great achievement, by the way. Interesting question from Sarah. How much did we take for the testing phase?
The initial testing phase after the first mirroring of the environments was, I believe, 10 days. And then before the go live was a total of 2 weeks for 2 people.
Okay. And also one interesting note is that, as I said, we also refactor some code. The reason is that we anyway have to test everything. So why not doing some refactoring, and cleanup of, let's say, legacy part of the code and of the website. So it's also a good time for you to think about that. All right, so just to close the webinar, and feel free to continue to ask questions. I will just give you some takeaway from our perspective. So of course, preparation is key, obviously. I mean, and we can help you, by the way, to assess your current installation and to help you to understand what are the steps, how long it might take for you. Also, one thing to be aware, if you are right now on AEM on premise, and I guess you are, otherwise you won't be in this webinar, you will have to move. You will have to move at some point. I don't know the plan of Adobe, but I'm pretty sure that they will at some point shut down the on-premise, or it will be just not supported anymore. So it's something that you must prepare, I guess, for the next 1 or 2 years maximum. You should move to the cloud. And also about AEM Cloud, I mean, now we have several clients on the cloud. It's clearly an innovative solution. I don't want to start to list all the great stuff that AEM Cloud provide, but it's for me, it's a SaaS, meaning a software as a service that you can, of course, extend with your own components and customization, but it's a SaaS. It means that it will update automatically and be always on the latest version. So you also will save a lot. Remember all this upgrade of version that you have done in the past. This is now from the past. Do you have to pay for the environment from the beginning or with the go live? This honestly, Karin, I cannot tell you. Maybe Mike or Simon, maybe you can tell us if you have to pay for the environment.
So as far as I'm aware, of course, Michi Grob, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to buy the license from Adobe before we can even start the migration. So you'll be paying the license during that time, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but in our case, I mean, as we already paid in advance for 1 more year for the on-prem solution, we didn't have to pay during the migration time. So the new contract actually started from the 1st of January on. So when we were already in the cloud.
So
I don't know if
learned here. Talk to your Adobe sales or account manager.
What I want to say is that everything is negotiable. So I'm pretty sure Adobe will can offer a few months if they really want to keep you as a customer. So this is Mickey, right? You're smiling. Yeah. And yes, do you have any other question in the chat? We can take 2 or 3 more minutes before closing this webinar. And again, I repeat. So after the webinar, you will get a recording in the following, maybe next week, you will get a recording. So if you want to watch that again, and so it will be available via our newsletter. Also, we will answer the question that has been left in the chat, and we'll come back to you with that. And also, somebody from my team, Eliane, will contact you personally in the next few days, also to suggest a one-to-one session. So if you are too shy, or if your project is complex, and I'm sure it is, we can also organize with you a one-to-one session, 1 hour with Mike here, and maybe with one of our developers, just to understand where you are and answer all your questions. So this is something that is also possible. And another question from Jonathan now. Was it easy to make sure that all the MarTech tool, I guess, were integrated?
Generally, yes, given that they're code snippets. So they're just part of the migration. Of course, it's always good to test after the migration. But as far as we could tell, our testing phase for those different tools, so we, in our case, analytics, target, and campaign, we saved 3 days. We didn't need 3 days to test, as they all happened to work great.
Question from Mickey. Now you have that migration is finished. Do you have other plans to optimize the website? Maybe I can answer first. Yes, Mickey, we have plans with GVB, don't worry. But but maybe Simon, you want to answer Mike?
Yeah, I mean, we're all the time we're optimize our websites. Actually, we still have a decent budget to do some improvements, and all the site owners in our company can participate, can set some new requirements, and then we prioritize together. So this is really like in our organization. We live this together, and yeah, we do a lot of progression on those improvements and stuff. Yeah.
And what would be really interesting to see as well is that if the time to market is now better as well, because it's also one of the value proposition from AEM Cloud that you can go to the market faster, you can innovate faster. So we can maybe do a webinar in 1 year and tell you more about that. Okay. Any other question? And again, I repeat, you have my email address. You receive the invitation with my email address, samuel.schmitt@oneinside.com. So don't hesitate, send me an email, and our team will come back to you. There is some technical question that we were not able to answer, so we just read them and we were like, okay, too complicated. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we can, as I said, bring our devs with you and go more into detail in a one-to-one session. So if there is one, so no more questions. So thanks. If you let us know if you like the webinar with a thumbs up or a thanks in the chat. And because it's always appreciated to see that people are, let's say, reacting. So thank you, everybody here. And also thank you, Simon, for your trust and for participating to this webinar. It's really great also that our customers share their voice. Mike as well, thank you for your involvement in the project and preparation to this webinar. I wish you to everybody a nice day and see you soon for more stories. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.